In the dust and din of the American frontier, there were men who made legends and men who held those legends together. Charlie Bassett was one of the latter, a steady hand in a world that seemed to spin faster every year. Born in 1847 in New Bedford, Massachusetts, Bassett came of age in a country tearing itself apart. When the Civil War broke out, he enlisted in the Union Army, a young man eager to serve. The war changed him, as it did so many. By the time the guns fell silent, Charlie wasn't a boy anymore. He was a man restless for the promise of the West. He drifted across the plains, following the same horizon that drew dreamers, drifters, and desperados alike. By the early 1870s, he'd found his way to Kansas, Dodge City to be exact, a town that would soon be known as the wildest place on the American frontier. In 1873, Charlie Bassett was elected the first sheriff of Ford County. It was a hard post in a harder land. Dodge City was a hub for cattle drives, where cowboys rode in with their pay and rode out broke, leaving behind broken bottles and broken bones. It was a place where law and chaos sat at the same saloon table. Bassett wasn't the fastest gun in town, nor the loudest, nor the most famous, but he was fair, calm, and utterly unshakable. The kind of man the wilder sort learned not to test twice. When violence flared, Bassett didn't reach for his gun first. He reached for his sense of judgment. That earned him respect, even from those who broke his laws. He hired good men to stand beside him, men whose names would echo through Western history: Bat Masterson, Wyatt Earp, and Luke Short. Together, they formed a quiet brotherhood of lawmen, enforcing order in a place where there had never been much of it before. Bassett served 2 full terms as sheriff, then became a U.S. deputy marshal. Later, he ran the Long Branch Saloon, one of Dodge City's most famous watering holes. But even as he poured whiskey and played cards, he remained the same: steady, good-humored, and never quick to brag about his past. In 1883, when the so-called Dodge City War broke out, a political and personal feud that threatened to tear the town apart, it was Charlie Bassett who rode back into Dodge to help settle things. The war ended without bloodshed, thanks largely to Bassett's diplomacy and the cool heads of the lawmen he'd once led. He drifted again in his later years, working in saloons and hotels, eventually settling in Hot Springs, Arkansas, a town that promised peace and warm water for men who'd spent too many years in the cold wind. There in 1896, Charlie Bassett passed quietly, far from the gun smoke and headlines that had defined his younger days. He left behind no memoirs, no tall tales of shootouts or glory, just the memory of a man who did his job and did it well. In a time when justice was often written with a bullet, Charlie Bassett proved that strength could be quiet, that courage could be calm, and that even in the wildest towns of the Old West, there was still room for decency.